Thank you for the honor of being able to speak with you tonight. Rosie Hernandez gave me the 3 minutes, and I hope that I can indulge that time to read a poem to you. I'm a 6th-generation Tucsonian. My relationship with TUSD started in 1956 when I was a first grader as a non-English speaking student. Back then they did time out. Today they do ELL. And the structured English immersion isn't much more than time out. I've been a student, a parent, a teacher, a bilingual ed teacher, a special ed teacher, a civil rights compliance officer, the first one for TUSD. I've been a board member, and I've been a civil rights activist both professionally and in my personal life. I wrote this poem in February, shortly after mosques had been dismantled. Never to be silenced. She sits pensively in her literature class while she stares at nothing. She ponders. If she is the same, and her teacher is the same as before, when the class content dealt with American authors of Mexican heritage, why is everything so different now? This is the year that she began to love literature, the year that she fell in love with words, pages, books, and authors. This is the year that being Mexican-American had become so passionately meaningful. This is the year that her closest friend, who is white American, said, "I finally get it. I value you and me more, and I understand this country." She knew that it was the social studies class which provided a Mexican-American perspective that had brought them both to this place of appreciation and understanding. It is this very perspective that had been expelled from their literature and social studies coursework by the governance that she had believed would protect the students and her learning. All expelled without due process because a Mexican-American vantage point was deemed intolerable. Had we not grown beyond intolerance, she questioned, recognizing the true, distressing answer. The death of a governing board had meant the death of so much within the governing body. The casting of votes had been reconfigured, minds had been changed, and hearts had been lost. She learned all of this by attending the board meetings and studiously watching and listening. She recalls the day that her cherished books were stacked, lifted, and packed into large boxes labeled banned books. Her books, her authors were abducted with no time for farewells. The act, she felt, was cruel. Would the books also be set aflame? No, she immediately responded in her thoughts. Enough had been accomplished. Labels branded her and all of her friends as sheep, following the dictates of certain adults. In so doing, the adults were portrayed as exploitive and the students as stupid. She and her friends were just standing up for what is right. There were no adults in the shadows. She thought, don't they get it? We don't like adults to rule when we know what to do. Her teacher prods her to become engaged, and her thoughts are temporarily interrupted. She turns her focus to the book before her. It does not pull her. It does not enchant her. She re-engages. Her teacher, after all, remains delightful, though she believes her teacher's spirit has been deeply, deeply wounded. How could it not be? The bell rings, and at last she's able to wander outside. She sits on the grass and attempts to allow the wind to flee through her thoughts, her worries. The wind subsides and she's left with her qualms. She needs to understand what has changed and why. Today there is no escape, and finally she must understand. She stares at the gigantic T on the main and imagines the thousands upon thousands of Tucson High Badgers who have passed this way, so many of them of Mexican ancestry. Were they also shown through repeated actions that their Mexican heritage was to be silenced? Of course. There are too many stories told by her nana, her tios, and her mom of such silencing for her to begin to unravel at this point. She had not imagined that she too would have a story, such an enormous story. It is the very identity of Mexican Americans that has been challenged in an effort to silence history, literature, art, and music. Curriculum ripped from the teachers, authority stripped from the director, all judged and condemned. The uncoded message is prevalent. There's only one American perspective. All else will be silenced. At best, at worst, any other perspective will be muffled through weakened, diluted, multicultural curriculum. Either plan succeeds in cleansing the Mexican-American perspective. She begins to weep quietly because she finally understands there are those with elusive power who remain to desire that the Mexican identity and experience be held in silenced, oppressive place. In a silenced, oppressive place. She can almost hear the whispers, "Stay in your place." The words find themselves coded in state legislation and school board resolutions. There are those who will forever work to silence what they do not understand or what they fear. She understands, and with this she recognizes she will never, ever be the same. She is resolved in embracing her Mexican heritage more firmly than ever, for it is what strengthens her to stand as an American in this struggle for social justice. She understands in this moment of absolute pure silence, and she knows that she will never be silenced. I dedicate that to the intellectual warriors, to the Mexican-American teachers, to the alumni of every Mexican-American studies class, and to those that are here to listen with their hearts. Thank you.